Good afternoon. This is Under One Roof MTL on CJD 800. I'm Robin. That's Fred. That's Martin. That is LJ. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Robin.
Go Pats.
Go Pats. That's something I haven't heard in 10 years.
I know, it's so funny.
How's it going, LJ?
Great, how are you?
Very, very good. The snow is so pretty today. There's something about lightly falling snow that is just magical. Maybe it's because I put my Christmas tree up yesterday, so I'm feeling festive.
Yes,
we got to be used to it. It just started.
It just started. Everybody have their winter tires on? The deadline's coming up December 1st.
Not yet, but I did put out my Christmas tree yesterday.
You did?
I did, yeah.
It feels so nice to have the Christmas tree up.
Nice.
It's
Absolutely
wonderful.
love it.
We've had it up for a couple weeks.
Is that a faux pas when you have visits coming to your house, LJ, to have like Christmas decorations up?
No, that's not the case. I mean, obviously in the season, don't have it up in August or July, and then it would be... Don't take photos with your Christmas thing still up if your listing is now up in mid-January, February.
Right.
That's where it turns into a faux pas.
What's wrong with the tree in July?
What's wrong with it? It just ages the listing is really all it is. Or creates confusion. Both are things we don't want when trying to sell a property.
Absolutely. Speaking of confusion, our trivia question of the week. If you pay attention to this show, it shouldn't confuse you. And then you would win some cookies from Felix and Norton. You can visit their store at the Blue Haven Shopping Center, 3705 St. John's Boulevard in DDO. I swung by last weekend with my nephew. Everything's looking good in there. First person to text in the correct response to 514-790-0800 receives cookies from Felix and Norton delivered straight to their door. Our question this week, what is a co-borrower on a mortgage?
I think it's an easy one, Robin.
You think it's, well, you should know all the answers, Fred.
Well,
So they should all be easy to you.
well, hopefully someone will find out very quickly, but
But Robin, I got a question for you.
Oh boy.
When you go to Felix and Norton,
Yes.
can you eat only one cookie?
No, at least 2. Maybe 3 if I'm feeling a little crazy.
They are insanely good.
Delicious. When I was a kid, Felix and Norton used to be in the Bell Center, right? You could get cookies at hockey games when it was the Molson Center.
Mm-hmm.
And the deal was my dad would get tickets from work and he would bring me to the games. My mom would, give up her ticket so I could go. The deal was always, but you got to bring me home some Felix and Norton cookies. That was the deal. Pretty good deal to get to go to a hockey game with my
100%.
dad. I loved it. It was amazing. Okay, so if you think you know the answer, what is a co-borrower on a mortgage? 514-790-0800. Please include your name as well. Guys, we've been talking about rate decreases all year long, occasionally standing pat, no increase, no decrease. But for the first time in a while, Scotiabank is predicting a rate hike at the next Bank of Canada announcement in a few weeks. What do we think? Is this actually going to happen?
I don't think in a few weeks. I think it's in 2026. They were saying.
Okay. I
Yeah,
misunderstood. I
they-
thought they said the next one was going up.
I mean, of the big banks, they went rogue. The only one that took that position was Scotiabank.
And I'd say that's very interesting because they're the ones who were originally, about a year ago, predicting the lowest rates coming our way. They were very much bullish on rates coming down.
Wow.
So this is a very much big change in pace and perspective for them.
What do they know that we don't?
Well, I think they're looking at inflation. They think it's still too high, and they think that some of the cuts that were made were more for insurance than to stimulate the economy. And let's face it, it's a very aggressive forecast on their behalf. Because if you look at the other players, whether it's TD, RBC, CIBC, BMO, and the National Bank, actually the National Bank took a position that the others didn't. They think there's going to be a rate decrease in December where everybody else is thinking that we're going to stay the course.
Interesting. But inflation actually cooled, which heavily impacts interest rate decisions.
Well, if you look at inflation right now, so October is at 2.2.
Yes.
When the economists felt that it should be at 2.1. But we're going into uncharted territories. The budget was accepted. There's going to be a ton of spending. Consumer spending still is pretty aggressive, and now we're coming into the Christmas season. But I'll give you an example. I was at the Atwater Market yesterday, and we're a berry family. So, Joe said, hey, can you get some strawberries and blueberries? And so I always went to the same stand, and I always want to buy stuff from Canada, from Quebec. Mm-hmm. And they had some Quebec strawberries, and I'm not sure where the blueberries were from. I didn't ask. But I did 2 little things of strawberries and 1 thing of blueberries, and the guy said $26. I said, $26 for
100%.
strawberries and blueberries?
Out of season.
Yeah, but still
Even in
$26.
season.
And I'm sort of standing there going, whoa, that's a lot for, I could count the amount of strawberries I had in each of the little containers, and I could count the
You're
blueberries.
preaching to the choir. LJ and I both have young kids. I spend a mortgage on berries every week.
We start every day with berries, and I was like, $26 for a couple of strawberries and some blueberries. I was like, where are things going?
I don't know where you went, Martin, because I went to the Jean Talon market yesterday afternoon, and I paid around 12, 14.
Okay, well, I went to the Atwater market, so
I don't know. Maybe it's,
Maybe you got like organic or
Yours
something.
were definitely not from Quebec.
Yeah, maybe.
They were not organic. They were not hand-selected. They're premium berries in Atwater. I can vouch for them.
Mine were produits du Québec.
Exactly.
So,
Although I did see a news report this week because, Canada strong, elbows up. Everybody's been prioritized buying Canadian, buying local. And they were interviewing people coming out of grocery stores asking if this was still a priority for them. And overwhelmingly, people were like, I just can't afford to do that anymore. Like, I buy whatever's cheapest at this point. So, California berries coming at you.
When you buy the strawberries, that you know that they were sort of like done in a greenhouse, and they're the size of an orange, and then you cut them out, and they're all white inside, and there's no flavor to them.
Hollow.
Yeah, I'd rather buy stuff from Quebec and pay a little bit more, so they have actually a little bit of flavor to them.
So you guys sent an email this week. It was a lengthy email thread that I was reading through about, and this morning when we were talking about it, I was like, the reverse mortgage thing. And you were like, well, it's not really a reverse mortgage thing.
Yeah, so we got an email from a lady named Ginette, and she brought our attention to an article that was published in the Star in Toronto. And when we started reading through the article, it has nothing to do with reverse mortgages. It has everything to do with a scam that a senior fell for. So the name of the article is Darlene Early Reverse Mortgage Nightmare, a Real-Life Scam Story. So the story goes, it's a senior from Ontario that discovered she had a $400,000 reverse mortgage on her fully paid off home, one that she never applied for.
Oops.
The scam began with bogus contractors that pressured her into signing a hidden loan application amongst all the other paperwork they asked her to sign. The frauders then used the documents to secure a reverse mortgage through a broker she had never met. A year later, she was shocked to receive a letter from the Home Equity Bank, and we do a lot of business with the Home Equity Bank, and that's CHIP, claiming she owed more than $400,000 plus interest on her home. Her case shows how seniors can be exploited through forged signatures, fake repairs, and identity theft. And because this is a regulated product, and there are all kinds of safeguards that are put in place to protect the borrower's interests. So we took a step back. Fred and I looked at this article, and we said, this has nothing to do with reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgage is a great product. This has everything to do with seniors getting scammed. So then what we did is we said, okay, what can people do to protect themselves? So first thing, never sign anything at the door. So if someone shows up at your door and you didn't call them, don't sign anything. Mm-hmm. Always verify. So Fred and I are licensed by l'Autorité des marchés financiers, and LJ is licensed by
the OACIQ.
Right. So if there's a broker out there that's doing any brokering, get their license number and verify if they're actually a legit broker. So verify contractors and advisors. Deal direct with licensed brokers. So you're allowed to ask LJ for what his license number is, and you're allowed to ask Fred and I what our license numbers are, and you can validate that against the authorities. Always monitor your credit. Never share any personal documents with contractors. Why would you give a contractor anything that could identify you that they could use against you? Then, if you're unsure about it, call a family member or call an advisor. Get a second opinion. And then anything that you feel is suspicious, call the police, call the fraud centers, or even call your bank. Because you know what? There's a scam happening every day. And unfortunately, seniors tend to be susceptible to these types of things. So protect yourselves.
Yeah, there's I'm looking for it right now, so I'll get it.
Sorry. And thank you, Ginette, for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, so you can report something like this to them directly. So you can just go on their website. If you just Google Canadian Anti-Fraud, you can go to their website. You can fill it out online, give them a call. But yeah, definitely. I presume she would have had to turn over like pictures of her ID at some point.
Well, I'm sure once this thing was signed, then some of the documentation was sent to whoever this broker was. And then the broker, there must be all kinds of identity.
Yeah,
Fred
and a few people
about
involved in this for sure. Like, it's not one broker who did that. Absolutely not.
And so sometimes I take a step back. If the fraudsters are that talented at building these scams, why don't you just go and get a job?
Yeah, use your
And do it
powers for
legally.
good.
Exactly. Do use your powers for good.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. If you have any questions, by the way, 514-790-0800. You can text them in right now, and the guys will try to answer them. Still to come, contingencies and conditions. Everything you need to know about protecting yourself when you make an offer to purchase. This is Under One Roof. I'm Robin. That's LJ. That's Fred. That is Martin. We're with you until 1 p.m. Lots of people taking guesses at our trivia question of the week, and some wrong answers coming in. So make sure you think long and hard. What is a co-borrower? What is a co-borrower on a mortgage? 514-790-0800. We'll have the answer for you a little bit later on in the show. Right now, we're talking contingencies and conditions, protecting yourself in an offer to purchase. Very exciting. You've gone around, you found a place, you're like, I love it. I want to put in an offer. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the property, and it doesn't necessarily mean you should. So LJ, for buyers who perhaps are new to the process, first-time home buyers or somebody who's re-entering the real estate market for the first time in a long time, what exactly is a condition on an offer to purchase?
A condition is something that will need to be fulfilled during the due diligence process of the purchase. Now, typically conditions that we have on an offer are, first of all, the financing condition. We'll give ourselves 15 days to get firm financing, and this is different than your pre-approval, which is where the bank or the mortgage lenders are going to verify your credit, verify your income, and make sure that you will qualify. This is truly a full verification of yourself again, but the property specifically, and there's probably going to be an appraisal of the property to ensure that the numbers all match up and all is good to go. Next common condition that we have is the inspection. Inspection is a super important part of any purchase. Please do not purchase a property without an inspection. I cannot stress this enough. And we're usually going to have 10 days to do the inspection. We'll have another 4 days to review the report. During this process, we're going to have a professional inspector come in, verify all of the property in its entirety. We're looking at plumbing, structure, foundation, electrical, roofing, attic. You name it, we verify it. And from there, we have to have an understanding of what's the general condition of the property. And really, we're looking for major issues, significant problems. The way the inspection clause is drafted, it's really that it's not for small things. It's not for, oh, I changed my mind, or, oh, this electrical socket doesn't work. It really has to be a major significant issue with the property that we're looking to reveal at this point in time. Another common condition that we have is the document review clause. Now, document review is going to shift depending what type of property we're buying, whether that's a single-family home, a condo, or a multifamily property. But effectively what we're looking for is the taxes, copy of property insurance, leases if the property is currently rented, any cases open at the rental board, any recent renovation receipts for major items that might have transferable warranties. For a condo, we're looking at the entire declaration of co-ownership, the financial statements, the meeting minutes, any information pertaining to any potential lawsuits the building's currently undergoing. So really, this is obviously a super important part of our due diligence because we need to know what we're getting ourselves into, what the seller knows that we might not know that they have to disclose to us. And then beyond that, we have different clauses depending on the property type. So in the South Shore is an area that usually suffers from pyrite or has had a tendency to, and thus we're usually going to ask for a pyrite verification. If we're up in the Laurentians and we're not connected to municipal water or sewage, we're going to want to test the water. We're going to want to check the
septic tank.
The septic tanks, exactly, what they have and whatnot. If we're in an older property, I almost always recommend that we verify the actual plumbing drains. So we're going to pass a camera scope to see what the condition of the drains are, to see if there's any roots going in there, if it's they're dislodged, any issues of that nature. And if the property used to have oil heating, or if it's near a gas station, a lot of time I'm going to want to do an environmental test to find out if there's any environmental contamination on the property as well, which could be incredibly costly. So those are some of the conditions that we'll have. And then one that we see sometimes, depending on the market that we're in, is a condition to sell your property. So if you are buying contingent on the sale of your home, we can add that condition into the promise to purchase as well. So there's a variety of conditions that we can have included, obviously, in any promise to purchase, and we want to make sure that we're putting a good amount of conditions to protect you, but obviously not adding unnecessary ones that are not common practice, because that's when you're going to spook the seller and not actually be able to come to a deal. So make sure you're working with a licensed professional who knows what they're doing, who's experienced, who can really guide you on what is important to put in, what's going to be enough to protect you, but not so much that obviously nobody wants to deal with you anymore.
Right.
Can I give one piece of advice? We often say that people don't read anymore. And I'll give you an example. Fred and I will send out a DocuSign, documents that need to be signed by whoever we're dealing with, and they'll come back within 3 minutes. And it'll be a 15-page document. And I know very well, in 3 minutes, I mean, unless you're a speed reader, you have not read through those documents, and you're committing to somebody, you're committing to something via DocuSign. So the importance of reading those documents, LJ, is
Incredible.
critical.
Imperative.
Exactly. And the second thing is stay out of flood zones if you can. Because we've run into a few issues lately where people have actually purchased unknowingly, perhaps 10, 15 years ago, and the flood zone, the lines have changed. And now when you're in a flood zone, it really becomes problematic.
That's one of the first things we do. Whenever a client sends us a property, like, hey, we're interested in this one, and we see it's like, oh, there's water nearby, we immediately go to the flood zone map. And even if you're not in the flood zone, honestly, but you are what I like to call dangerously close to it, a few houses away from the flood zone, we tell people, like, these lines change all the time, and if it happens to change to go against you all of a sudden, you are completely destroying the value of your asset. So let's find you something else.
Yeah. I'm curious, too, about, if you're not necessarily near a body of water, like, for example, there's around the corner from me a house, like a street that kind of dips down, and every time we get a big heavy rainstorm in the summer, everybody on that little valley, their basements flood every single time. They are not near a body of water. Obviously there's some sort of issue with like the sewer or their sump pumps or something, but is that something that you would look at? Like, how do you find out, like, oh, does your basement flood?
That should be in the seller's declaration.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Right. So even though that's not near a body of water, so I wouldn't have triggered my verification of the flood zones, in the seller's declaration, you have to declare if you've had any issues. We talk about electrical, we talk about, drains, flooding, leaks. Really, it's an 8-page document where we discuss every single potential issue that a property has had, and that's where the seller would have to mention, yes, we've had a leak, or yes, we've had a water backup, and this is what we did to deal with it. This is when it happened. This is what's been done since then, and has it happened again or not effectively. So once we see that this has happened a couple of times and there's been no resolution, there's a problem.
So what happens if the conditions aren't met? What happens next?
Not met in which way? You don't get your financing?
You don't get your financing, or there is a huge issue on the inspection, or can you revoke your offer to purchase?
So yeah, if you don't get your financing, then effectively the seller is allowed to take you to one other institution in the 5 days following the lack of you getting your financing to try and get you financed somewhere else.
Okay.
If you find that there's too many significant issues, really large issues, you are allowed to render your promise to purchase null and void, so effectively cancel your offer. You are also allowed to try and renegotiate or give the seller an opportunity to fix some of these issues if you do want to come to terms. If you find things in the document review that are just significant issues that you weren't expecting or that are just too not worth the risk, we'll call it simply, you are allowed to withdraw your offer at that point as well. But all of these things come with very specific timelines. You can't just decide in a month's time, like, oh, you know what, I want to go back and not do this anymore. You have to make sure you've respected all of your timelines and that you issue the cancellation with the appropriate paperwork at the appropriate time. There's very much due process here that has to be followed, and if you don't follow it, you risk getting yourself into trouble.
LJ, you remember a couple of years ago with COVID time when there was a seller's market and people were voting all the condition on their offer. Is that something that you think always when it's a seller's market that thing could happen?
I mean, anything can happen in any market. Now, we never recommended our clients waive inspection. It didn't matter. I was always a firm believer of, I'd rather lose out on 5 properties and make sure we get the right property where we're still protected than get you into a Pandora's box. Because we're talking about a home, we're talking about the island of Montreal or surrounding areas where most homes are over 50 years old, some over 100 years old. Right. We really have to know what we're getting ourselves into. It's going to be the largest investment in your life. No matter how badly you need a home, we could always go rent the property.
I'm agree with you, but I remember back in the days, a couple of years ago, people were coming 50 to 100,000 over asking price without inspection.
No inspection. Yeah.
It was a bit scary.
It was very scary, And I mean, look, there were some cases where the seller provided us an inspection report, and because I've been doing this for 17 years, I know a lot of the, we'll call it top inspectors in the city. If it was somebody who I recognize, who I've looked at the report and I saw they actually did a very diligent job, then sure, we might not have inspected because we had a very recent report in hand that provided us the information. But overall, unless you are one of my investor clients who has had a lot of experience and knows what you're going into, we need to be inspecting every single property because you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, I find that people who are actually purchasing houses get very emotional and they get emotionally attached to the purchase, where somewhere along the line you have to stay cerebral. You have to keep your objectivity before you sign on the dotted line, because you can make a huge mistake because you get emotionally engaged or committed to that home. And no matter what anyone says to you, I want this home à tout prix.
But that's your realtor's responsibility. And that's where I highlight. I have a part of my presentation in our buyer's consultation where I highlight the fact that buying a home is an incredibly emotional process, and I'm here to make sure that you stay level-headed. So no matter how badly you want something, I will tell you if I think it's a bad idea, and I'll make sure I put it in writing because I want to be very transparent on the fact that you do not have my blessing to move forward. If you really absolutely want to, I will do the paperwork for you, but I believe this is a problem for XYZ reasons. Everyone's an adult. Everyone's allowed to make whatever decisions they want, but that's the realtor's responsibility. Make sure that you are representing your client's best interest.
And if you want LJ to be the realtor that is representing you, give him a call, 514-500-4040. Coming up, listener question of the week, and we're also going to be talking about couples and mortgages. Fred and Martin have some advice for you after the news. This is Under One Roof. I'm Robin. That's Fred. That's Martin. That is LJ. We have such interesting discussions off air. I feel
Hold
like.
on. Where am I going for my berries?
Super C and Max C. Somebody
Thank
texted
you.
in, Martin, said that's where you're going to get the best prices.
Thank you.
And they still do have Canadian goods. So.
I just like the atmosphere of going to the Atwater
course.
Market. And Fred was at the
Yeah.
Jean Talon Market
Do they have the
yesterday,
Christmas
and LJ
trees
goes
out?
to the Atwater Market.
Yet?
It's
At
the
the Atwater
experience of
Market?
being there. So.
I'm going
smells so
after the
nice.
show, actually.
Let me know. It smells delightful when all the pine trees are out. So
All the trees are out.
all the trees are out.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Okay, we were talking about our listener question of the week off air. Somebody had asked, what exactly is a bridge loan and when would I use one? I have a friend who recently ported a mortgage, bridge loans. Okay, what are they? What's the difference?
Who wants to take it?
Well, I could
Start with a bridge loan, Fred. Tell me what it is.
A bridge loan is a short-term loan that lets you access the equity of your current home before you sell it. So you can close on your new property without waiting for your sale to finalize.
Okay, so that would eliminate the condition we were just talking about with LJ about condition the
It's-
sale of your home.
It's not really a condition. It's technically you're selling your property, but you will finalize that sale, let's say February 1st.
Yep.
But your new purchase will take place on January 1st. And you need that profit that you had on your house as your down payment for the new purchase.
Okay.
And that's why we're going to set up a bridge loan for that.
So, visualize it. So your existing home is on one side of the bridge. That's where the equity is sitting, but you can't access it yet. Your new home is on the other side of the bridge. You need a down payment now so you can close on time. The bridge loan connects the two. The lender advances the funds needed today so you can complete your purchase without waiting. Hence the bridge. So once your current home officially sells, the notary sends the money to the lender, and the bridge is then paid off automatically. And as Fred mentioned, it's temporary, short-term, and designed to help people move forward from one home to the next. So basically, bridge loans are anywhere between 30, 60, 90 days. To qualify, because you need to qualify, because they're just not going to send you the money.
Right.
So you need an accepted offer on your current home. There has to be enough equity, and then you have to go through the traditional credit and income verification, hence the bridge loan.
It's basically an advance from your bank for the purchase of your house,
Okay.
technically.
That makes sense.
So just visualize the bridge. So you're connecting the two, and in between is the gray area where you need those funds. So those funds are forwarded to you so you can bridge the two transactions.
And then porting a mortgage is nothing at all like a bridge loan because that is carrying over your mortgage from a previous property into a new property.
You are correct, young lady.
Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning.
Well, we're not going to do a lot of portability, to be honest.
Yeah, not as common of a product,
No.
I guess. Okay, so this week we want to talk about couples and mortgages, and this is where things get sticky. I mentioned that a friend of mine recently ported a mortgage. Why did he do that? Because he got divorced. These kinds of things happen. I think the average length of a marriage in Canada is like 7 or 8 years. People just don't stay together.
Okay, so I don't want to be a party crasher, but I'm going to be a party crasher.
Okay.
Again. So basically, you're in love, right? Okay.
I hope so.
Everything is
What?
perfect,
Yeah.
and moving in together is the next obvious thing to do. But relationships can change,
People can
and
change.
when they do,
Yeah.
breakups bring real life questions that no one likes to ask before you move in together.
Of course.
And you should ask. So we've witnessed, well, unfortunately or fortunately, we do a lot of divorces and separations and all kinds of things. So we've encountered people go, who keeps the record collection when we break up? Who gets the dog? That's the type of thing.
They're asking their mortgage broker who gets the dog?
because they're negotiating to
We're
buy
psychologists. We're part-time psychologists. We
Yeah.
take care. We wear many hats every
Oh my
single day.
goodness.
I've seen couples fight over a fondue pot.
Oh.
I'm serious. So I know a written agreement isn't romantic, but it saves you the stress, money, and the conflict later on. In Quebec, What happens to a home after a breakup depends on the civil code and not common law like in the rest of Canada. And many couples are surprised how different Quebec's property rules are compared to the rest of Canada. So if you're separating or dealing with illness or even death, speak to a notary or a family law lawyer. So what's the difference in Quebec? In Quebec, when you buy a home as a couple, there are different layers you need to understand. So what is your relationship status? Are you married? Are you in a civil union? Are you common law, conjoint de fait, as they say? Or as of June 30th, 2025, parents are under a new marital union regime. Second, the civil code rules, things like family patrimony and matrimonial regime, which is like who gets what when you separate or you die. And then on top of that, there are the federal rules, things like taxes and pensions. So unfortunately, I hate to be the party crasher in all this, and love is great, and we're all about love. But there has to be a practical side to your relationship today, especially if you're going to start to cohabitate or if you're going to buy a property together.
Well, marriage is a business arrangement.
Yeah,
It is.
It's a contract.
It is. And when you realize most marriages do not stand the test of time, like I said, 7 to 8 years is the average length of a marriage in Canada.
But battles over a fondue pot, really? And then it gets even more complicated when one of the two, there's a third party who's introduced into all this.
Oh, boy.
So when they're separating and there's a new couple being formed and you're left holding the bag, as much as you want to end things amiably, sometimes that third party can start to influence your former partner. So it gets messy. So I hate to say it, but get in writing before you hook up.
I guess this is why it's important also to protect yourself and make sure that your name is on the mortgage and on the deed when you're purchasing.
Especially
I know
on
this
the
is
deed.
something that...
Not necessarily on the mortgage, but on the deed.
Well, yes. I know historically, for example, women weren't on the deed of the home. Man owned home.
It depends on your relationship status. If you're married, it doesn't matter. The family residence is protected in Quebec.
But people in Quebec don't get married. They're shacking up.
But that's why I said it's very important to understand, are you common law? Are you married? Are you married separate as to assets? Even if you are, the family residence is still protected regardless if you are married separate as to assets or not. But there's a lot of intricacies and you just need to understand what's what and how it all plays out.
Yeah, so in Quebec, being on the mortgage and being on the deed are two separate things. If you're on the mortgage, you're legally responsible for the entire loan. So whoever's on the mortgage is responsible for the loan. If you're on the deed, you legally own the property. So if there are two of you, then two of you own the property. So you can choose both on the mortgage, both on the deed, which is typical. Both on the mortgage, only one on the deed. One on the mortgage, both on the deed, which is less common. And sometimes it depends on income.
Yeah, but it happens sometimes, Martin, that... a co-signer will be only guaranteed a mortgage.
But we're talking about couples right
exactly.
now, right?
So what happens if, let's say you do separate, one partner says, I want to sell, I want to cash in and move out, and the other one says, no, I want to stay in this house. I guess that's where a buyout scenario would occur?
Well, it's exactly that, Robin. When one of the two want to keep the house, as a broker, we have to make sure that that person could qualify to purchase the house and pay out the other spouse.
And what if that person doesn't have the funds or doesn't qualify to pay that person out?
Doesn't get to keep the home.
Well,
Then, but what if? But they are saying, I really don't want to sell. I'm refusing to move.
Nobody can force you to stay in a partnership. So if the person who wants to keep the property cannot afford to keep the property, you are allowed to trigger a sale.
Interesting.
That is the reality in Quebec. You can never be forced to stay in a partnership that you do not want to, and thus either party A can buy you out at fair market value, or if not, party A has to agree to a sale.
Okay, very, very interesting. Okay, quickly, how can we really afford this home today, and if things change? Is that a question you should be asking yourself?
Absolutely, because often couples rely on what the bank says they can afford, but then real life gets involved. And so, if the interest rates go up, can you continue to afford this property with the two incomes that you have? If one of the two goes on a mat or a pad leave, and all of a sudden their income goes down, can you still afford this property? If someone decides to leave their jobs, or their position is cut, or they decide to start a business and they become self-employed, you got to ask yourself, can we afford this property on one income? And what kind of safety nets do you have in place if things go sideways?
To find out more about what your lending options are, you can get in touch with Fred and Martin. Go to their website, fredandmartin.com. Coming up, our property of the week, plus the answer to our trivia question of the week. And guys, we have a caller on the line. We're going to speak to Paul. I'm Robin, that's Fred, that's Martin, that is LJ, and Paul is on the line right now with a question for these gentlemen. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good. So, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Love it.
I have a question, more like some clarification that I'm looking for. So my situation is a bit peculiar. So in 2015, I separated from my ex-wife, and a couple of years ago, my younger brother asked me to co-sign for his mortgage. So, which I did because I was in the process of saving up to buy something, but I didn't really need my credit at the time. So I had co-signed for him. About 2 years ago, I heard about the first home buying saving account there.
Yep.
So I thought it was a good medium for me to start saving up in there. So I started putting some money away there. However, when I reviewed my mortgage recently, or his mortgage, let's say, the thing that I'm unsure is, am I eligible for this account given that I'm a co-signer and I appear on the mortgage, on his mortgage?
LJ, do you have an answer for that?
I do. So just to confirm, you are not living in this property?
No, I'm not. I just co-signed and that's it. I have no link to that property other than vouching for the fact that he's going to make the payment.
And you do not currently live in a property that you own?
No, I'm renting.
Perfect. So then, yeah.
You're eligible.
So you're eligible, exactly. So as long as you do not live in a property that you own in the last 4 years, you qualify as a first-time buyer as per the Canadian Charter.
Okay, but the question that I have regarding that is, because I was the primary, because my income was higher than his, I think on the mortgage they have me down as like the primary
It doesn't
loan.
matter.
No.
It doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter. For example, my sister had a property and she was renting it out over the last 6 years, and she was able to use the program after that because it was a rental property. She wasn't living in it.
Okay. So the fact that my name appears on his mortgage, it will eventually be off by the time I'm ready to buy there, but I should not have any problems retrieving any money that I've been saving away in the
correct
first-time home buyer's plan.
Yep.
Yeah, you should not have any problem, Paul, but you may have a hard time to qualify. Depends on your income, because when we're going to pull out your credit bureau, you may have a mortgage listed there, which is a debt, you know?
No, but I'm going to be off that mortgage by the time I'm applying for my own mortgage.
If you're going to be off, there's no problem, no issue.
Perfect.
We could help you out with your pre-approval if you want.
Perfect. Good news for Paul. Happy we were able to help. We do have another question if we want to squeeze them in before we get to our property of the week. Nicholas is on the line. Hi, Nicholas.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much for taking my call. My question is, I've been in a condo here for about 20 years. I have 5 more years left to pay off the mortgage on this condo that I have now. Now I can pay it off as anyone else would, but I have $1,000 doing absolutely nothing right now. Is there other approaches I can use to pay off the last 5 years faster?
Well,
you want to pay off the last 5 years of your mortgage a little bit faster. Fred, do you have an answer for that one?
Yeah, you could you could double your payment every month. That's the first thing that you could do. And second, maybe you could do a lump sum once in a while. By doing that, you will reduce the interest of your loan and the lifetime of that mortgage of that 5 years left. I would say you should do that if you want to save interest.
Perfect. If you have any questions for us, by the way, 514-790-0800, you can call or text in. Guys, it's time for the property of the week. Thank you for your call, by the way, Nicholas and Paul. Appreciate it very much. LJ, where are we headed on the island or off island this week?
Today we are heading to Griffintown, believe it or not.
Ooh.
Live large in the heart of Griffintown. Introducing 1400 Rue Ottawa, Unit 201A, a luxurious 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo in the sought-after Bass project. Enjoy nearly 1,350 square feet of high-end living, including an open-concept layout, walk-in closets, a massive balcony with skyline views, and heated floors in the ensuite. You'll love the rooftop pool, the gym, and the private garage, all just steps from the canal, Peel Street, and the future REM station. Offered at $1.1 million, book your tour now at lgrealties.com or call 514-500-4040. As for my favorite places to grab a bite in the area, I'm going to have to go with Manno Cornuto. Always a good time there. And if you're looking for another great place to grab a coffee or simply do some work, check out Le Petit Dep. They've got on the 3rd floor a whole seating area to do quiet work. It's really, really cool. Most people don't know about it.
Oh.
I just love when LJ says living large.
Living large.
Living large.
Well, that's the kind of future we want to imagine
Champagne
for ourselves.
For all my friends.
Okay, we also have to get to the answer to our trivia question of the week, brought to you by Felix and Norton Cookies. Our question this week was, what is a co-borrower on a mortgage? Christine in Saint Laurent correctly identified that a co-borrower on a mortgage is a person who applies for the loan with the primary borrower and shares equal legal and financial responsibility for repaying the debt and owning the property. They're not just a guarantor. There's a difference. A guarantor is somebody who is signing off on the mortgage, right? Whereas the co-borrower is an equal partner in the mortgage application and they have ownership rights to the property. So that's the difference there. So congratulations, Christine in Saint Laurent. You're going to be getting cookies from Felix and Norton. That's pretty much it for us this week. We had a couple more questions come in just now via text. We're going to save them so that we can answer them next week. You can also email us, underoneroofmtl@gmail.com, if you've got a longer question maybe. You can also reach out to LJ, Fred, and Martin individually. LJ, where do people go to find you?
Go to our website, ljrealties.com, and if you want to book a meeting with me, you can go to meetwithlj.com. You can also check me out on all socials with the handle LJ Aguinaga or LJ Realties. You can also feel free to call or text me at 514-500-4040. And if you're looking to free up some of your time, contact my property management company, The Plex Doctor, to take over and give you back your time so that you can really focus on what's important to you. Find us at plexdr.com or call 514-709-6397.
Fred, Martin, where do people go to find you guys?
So again, we want to thank Jeanette for sending in that article. We'd love to hear from the listeners. So whether you're looking to get pre-approved, you're a first-time home buyer, you want to refinance, or you simply have questions in the world of mortgages or financing a property, go through our website, fredmartin.com. You can book Fred individually. You can book me. You can call me. You can call Fred. So the best way to get to us is through fredmartin.com or
fredandmartin.com.
Fred is also more than happy to talk about the Montreal Canadiens with you on your call. I think Fred is actually the new backup goalie for the Montreal Canadiens at this point.
I wish.
If you missed anything, you can listen to this show in its entirety on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. We're actually quite big on Spotify and Apple, guys. Our numbers are trickling upwards.
Are we living large?
We are living large on Under One Roof MTL. For LJ, Fred, and Martin, I'm Robin. Have a great Sunday. Go Pats!